So today I wanted to make a video kind of talking about the concept of the multiverse in the MCU and why I personally think that the MCU needs to do better explaining as to how their multiverse works, because there are a lot of different kind of concepts and theories that people come up with, which there's obviously nothing wrong with theories, but when we're dealing with the concept of the multiverse and how it will operate in the MCU going forward, because it'll be such a big playing point, it seems like, I feel like there needs to be a more potentially in-depth explanation than what they've given us so far. So if you enjoyed this video today, feel free to like and subscribe for future Marvel content. So obviously some people originally thought that potentially the Scarlet Witch from the events of WandaVision might have had something to do with the multiverse, or with No Way Home now, Doctor Strange's spell being botched could have potentially had something to do with the multiverse. But if you go back and you rewatch Loki, I still think the most detailed description of exactly what's going down with the multiverse takes place in the last episode of Loki. So it's been out for basically a long time now. But spoiler warning for the last episode of Loki if you have not seen it. So at the end of Loki, the sacred timeline is split into multiple different branches, right? That's kind of like the big end result. But before this, we get an explanation from He Who Remains, a Kang variant, as to what happened with the sacred timeline and why everything is the way it is. So according to Kang, there used to be a variant of himself who was a scientist. This variant discovered that there were other universes stacked on top of each other and his own. And he refers to it as another Kang variant, but I'm pretty sure he also, he's kind of speaking in the third person. I'm pretty sure that He Who Remains himself is the original Kang variant. So he says the various variants met up with each other, but some wished to conquer the other universes, which is what originally led to the multiversal war that they insinuated and explained very little at the beginning of Loki. And then Kang met Alioth, which was the big kind of cloud monster in episode 5 of Loki. Kang met Alioth, and he used Alioth's power to end the multiversal war. And when he ended the multiversal war, he then isolated his timeline and he created the TVA to prevent any further branches from stemming off. So from this explanation, I feel the strongest thing that can be implied is that the original Kang, which is the He Who Remains we met in Loki, separated all of the universes from each other again, because he still references that he has variants that Loki and Sylvie don't want to meet. So if this is the case, in my opinion, the MCU needs to reference the ending events in Loki a little bit more going forward regarding stories that revolve around the multiverse, because there are people out there that, they have a different way of thinking. There's a bunch of different theories in regards to how the multiverse works. Some of the ideas suggest that the multiple different branches of timelines are not a part of the multiverse, and that there are just different universes outside of this. So like in No Way Home, when the various villains from Spider-Man, from all the previous Spider-Man movies, are pulled in from their universes, people basically think that those universes are completely separate from the MCU, that they're not canon to the MCU, but they're canon to their people are calling it the MCM, which is supposed to stand for the Marvel Cinematic Multiverse. In my opinion, I still just call everything the MCU. The fact that the MCU has opened itself to the multiverse now, I consider basically just about everything canon. Basically almost every single Marvel property canon ever can be canon to the MCU, just because we've seen them pull from obviously the previous Spider-Man movies so far. I think there's a very big chance that they're going to pull from other movies going forward, especially in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. We could potentially see some X-Men pop up, but I think it has the potential to literally canonize every single movie type project that has ever been created with a Marvel property ever. But in general, I just think they need to give everybody a definitive explanation in a movie, preferably, because obviously not everybody watches the TV shows. Potentially in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness would probably be the best movie to do it in, so that there can be no debate and no room for interpretation as to how the multiverse is supposed to work, because there can always be theories, but not theories and not understanding a big concept that they're going to introduce going forward, I feel like are very two different things. But that about wraps up all the talk for this multiverse. Comment down below what you might think is going on, if you think the kind of explanation that they give at the end of Loki is sufficient enough, or if that you think as well that it also needs more explaining. And I appreciate you for watching the video.